A good and Erev Shabbos Parshat Vayetze. Welcome to the work-inspired Parnasa on the Parsha. Just before we begin, I want to welcome our Torah Anytime listeners around the world. So, Zechusim, merits. It's something that we're all familiar with. How often do we catch ourselves saying, you're hearing someone else saying, I want to get the Zechus, or don't you want to be able to get the Zechus? And we like Zechusim. And there are different types of Zechusim. We have the Zechus of giving tzedakah, the Zechus of limud Torah, the Zechus of gemilas chasadim, right? Different Zechusim from being marbitz Torah and being mezakah the Rambim. The truth is that one of the greatest Zechusim that we have, perhaps sometimes we underutilize it, is Zechus Avos. Zechus Avos, the Zechus, the merit of Avram, of Yitzchak, of Yaakov, and we're familiar with it most when it comes to Tefillah, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. We think about Zechus Avos, we turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with Zechus Avos. Really, the truth is that tzaddikim speak about, really we should live with Zechus Avos every moment of our lives, and recognize that it's really only on the Zechus Avos that we exist and we have all of the bracha in our lives. And with this in mind, we're going to come across in this week's Parsha one of the most puzzling statements that I've ever come across in my own limud, in my own exploration of the topic of Parnasa. We find in the Midrash Tanchuma, Parshat Vayetze Yud Gimel, that tells us, Mikan, we'll see the psukim in a second, Anachtu loimdim shezchus melacha, the zechus of melacha, the zechus of work, oimedes b'makoim she'ein yachol zechus avos lamod, that the zechus of melacha, of work, is able to stand in a place and able to bring goodness into our lives in a place that even Zechus Avos isn't able to. In Bereshis Rabba, we have a similar lashon taught from Rabbi Yirmiyah, right? That he says, "Chaviva malacha, beloved is work," because we find similar lashon that we find that the Zechus of malacha, of work, was able to stand in a place that the Zechus Avos words. And what's going on over here? So first of all, let's see what the Midrash is speaking about. It's speaking about, we find in Parshat Vayetze, right, when Yaakov Avinu runs away from Lavan and he confronts Lavan, right, after Lavan has a dream. So we have in the Pasuk, and this is what the Midrash goes through, where Yaakov says to him, Lule Elokei Avi, Elokei Avram, Upachad Yitzchak Kayali, Ki ata rekam shalachtani. Right, that if it wouldn't be for the zechus of my avos, the zechus of Avram, right, Pachad Yitzchak, so then I would have been left totally empty-handed, pockets empty, because we know, right, that Lavan had tried time and time again. In this week's parsha, we see to be able to take away his parnasa. And then Yaakov Avinu continues, it says, "Asani v'asyagia kapai ra'a Elokim miyuchach emesh." That Kadosh Baruch Hu saw all of my efforts, when all of the malacha that I was involved in my parnasa, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu came, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you a rebuke in the dream that he came to him the night before. So says the Midrash Tanchuma, as it explains over here, the Midrash, he says that when it came, if you look at the psukim, right, what did we just say? That because of the zechus of Avram and Yitzchak, so that protected his money, right? Otherwise, I would have left empty-handed. But then the second part of the pasuk is that there, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw my malacha, he saw that which I did for my parnasa. HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw that. That's what protected him, and that's protected him his life. And then the Midrash Tanchuma goes on to say powerful words. But he says we learn from here, right? What do we learn from here? A person shouldn't say, I'm just going to eat and I'm going to drink and I'm going to just sit back and I'm going to relax and rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who's just going to provide me with my parnasa. The Chach Nemar, he quotes Ilu that says, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu blesses our effort, our hishtadlus. A person needs to be involved in their parnasa b'shtei yadav, not just with one hand, with two hands. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sholech esper chasnei. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to send the bracha. Now, this is mind-boggling. Still for me, every time I read it. This is the first time that you're hearing such a thing. Malacha is greater than zechus avos. What's the Midrash talking about? So I think to understand this, This is a concept, a story given over. Bali Musar speak about it. I think in different versions, it depends which gvir, which rich person they want to use. But they say, imagine, I myself, I'm a career coach. You have different types of coaches. You have financial coaches. So imagine you're a financial coach, and somebody walks in, a client, and he says, listen, I got, I have a savings account, with $50,000, and I have this expense coming up and this wedding coming up, and, I'm struggling, with my expenses that are growing. Could you help me figure out a plan? So you say, okay, let's sit down. Let's show me what you have. And he starts going through his expenses. He starts going through his income. He opens up his accounts, right? And then you see on his account that this guy who's in front of you is like Bill Gates. This guy who's in front of you is someone who's extremely wealthy. Now, what would you do in that situation? You can sit there and you can try to help him figure out, how to spend this $50,000, right? Or you could awaken him to the fact, do you realize who you are? Right? You've forgotten who you are? Like, what about all those other accounts that you have? Like, you have millions. And what the Bali Musar are trying to give across in this idea is that sometimes a person could have so much wealth, but they're not even aware that's what the wealth, and we're trying to function within that which we have in front of us, but we don't even recognize the great, vast wealth that we have. And I think that this 𝗟𝗡𝗦 is one of these red flags, a notification, bing, going off, letting us know, chevra, this part of your life called work, there's something really deep going on over here. Like, maybe when it came to work in my life, how do we relate to work in our life? It's something we do, something we manage, something we get by, something that we just have to take care of. This 𝗟𝗡𝗦 is giving us a big notification. And the big notification is, malacha greater than 𝗧𝗛𝗧 Avos. There's a big bank account over here. Right? It could be that we lived our whole entire lives not being aware that which we're involved in for so much of our life is so much deeper than we may have considered. Now, what is the depth of malacha being greater than 𝗧𝗛𝗧 Avos? It's a big topic. It's a big topic here in the Pilzno base Midrash. In our base Midrash program, we've spent months going through this sugya, going through 𝗟𝗡𝗦 to try to understand in a tangible way for us all the different 𝗟𝗡𝗦 to speak about what is work, what is this topic of parnasa, making money in our lives. But just to share one idea that we can hold on to, going into the Shabbos. What is it that the Avos wanted for us? What is it that the Avos wanted? You look at the life of Avram, the life of Yitzchak, the life of Yaakov. The Tzvi and speaks about, really a lot of the tzaddikim speak about this idea of Ma'aseh Avos Simin L'Bani, that what the Avos were doing for us in their own lives is that they were creating pathways for us. In the world of psychology today, in the world of biology today, this idea of the neural pathway. If you could create a neural pathway, right, something within the brain, that therefore afterwards you're able to channel things through that pathway. The Avos were creating pathways for us. How else could we understand Yaakov Avinu, the semel, the image of Torah, the kolel guy, leaving in this week's Parsha, going out to Lavan, being involved in work for many, many years in Haran? What was Yaakov Avinu doing there? And as the Tzvi explains and other tzaddikim explain, is that they were building a pathway for us so that in the 21st century, you sitting at your desk, right, and you sitting, on your ladder or whatever you do for your work, you're able to be at work, and you're able to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through your work. That's what Yaakov Avinu was doing. And one understanding, as I believe it's the 𝗧𝗛𝗧 from the Midrash Rabbi that says, what's this Haviva Malacha Tzchus Avos? Malacha be'emuna. Malacha be'emuna. That when a person goes to work with emuna, now emuna just doesn't mean, right, that he believes there's an HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I know that Hashem's in charge of my parnasa. Of course that's true. And it doesn't just mean that he's honest in his business, right, and he makes sure even if nobody's looking, right, that he's very careful and he puts in a good day's work. Of course that's true. But malacha be'emuna means is that I don't leave HaKadosh Baruch Hu in my Gemara in the morning. I don't leave HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the Beis Midrash. I don't leave HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the Daf Yomi Shir. When I walk into my office, when I open up my laptop, right, when I get on that phone call, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there with me. I recognize that I'm a shliach of Hashem. I recognize that if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us, tzarech adam lamoid v'lasos b'shtei yadav, not just one hand, we just don't make our way through work. Wish they didn't have to be here. Shtei yadav, two hands. Jump in and recognize that through our malacha, when we do it be'emunah, we have the opportunity to bring a tremendous zechus into our lives and to create a tremendous nachas ruach for Hashem. Everyone should have a wonderful Shabbos.